As the board meeting fell silent as Rachel Donovan, the ice-cold CEO of Atlas Defense Technologies, announced her marriage, "Meet my husband, Logan Hayes." All eyes widened at the sight of the tall, unassuming man in simple clothes, the same man who had been silently cleaning their offices for months. What the powerful businesswoman didn't know was that her convenient contract husband once commanded America's most classified special forces unit. The janitor who scrubbed their floors had assassinated dictators and dismantled terrorist cells, and now, as shadowy figures circled Rachel's empire, Logan's carefully buried past was about to resurface with lethal consequences. Rachel Donovan strode through the gleaming lobby of Atlas Defense Technologies, her navy pencil dress and crisp white blazer a stark contrast to the muted earth tones of the Austin headquarters she now commanded. Employees scattered from her path, their whispers following her like shadows. 6 weeks had passed since her father's suspicious yacht accident, and 3 weeks since the board revealed the shocking stipulation in his will: marry within 30 days or lose controlling interest in the company. The heels of her Italian leather pumps echoed against the marble floor as she made her way to the executive elevator. 30 days to find a husband. The absurdity of it made her jaw clench. Joseph Donovan had built this company from nothing, teaching his daughter every aspect of the business, preparing her to take his place. And yet in death he'd added this archaic condition that threatened everything she'd worked for. Or her office, now clinically redecorated to her specifications. Rachel reviewed the latest missile guidance system blueprints while her assistant Vanessa provided updates on potential candidates for her emergency marriage. The VP of Marketing is divorced, attractive enough, and already cleared for classified information, Vanessa suggested. Rachel dismissed him with a wave. Too ambitious, he'd never accept a temporary arrangement. The chief financial officer, Vanessa, continued scrolling through her tablet to connect it to the board. He'd report everything back to Blackwood. Rachel turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the Austin skyline. "I need someone with no stake in Atlas. Someone who understands discretion." Someone, she paused, frustration evident in the tight line of her mouth. Someone controllable. That evening, after reviewing 7 potential husband candidates and finding fatal flaws in each, Rachel escaped to a small dive bar miles from the corporate district, a place no one would recognize, the ice queen of Atlas. Several drinks later, her carefully maintained control slipped away. The stress of her father's death, the company's future hanging in the balance, and the ticking clock of the inheritance clause overwhelmed her usually impenetrable composure. In this vulnerable state, she found herself drawn to a quiet man with observant eyes sitting alone at the bar. There was something steadying about his presence, something familiar. She couldn't quite place. Logan Hayes listened without judgment as she vaguely described her predicament, his calm demeanor a contrast to her emotional turmoil. "Sometimes the most impossible problems have the simplest solutions," he said, his voice a low rumble that seemed to cut through the noise of the bar. Rachel studied him more closely. Broad shoulders beneath a simple gray t-shirt, strong hands wrapped around his whiskey glass, a thin scar along his jawline. His eyes held something she recognized, the careful watchfulness of someone who had seen too much. When an aggressive patron harassed Rachel, Logan intervened with startling efficiency, a precise wrist lock that required no dramatic movement, just controlled expertise that made the aggressor apologize and retreat. The combination of alcohol, emotional release, and this stranger's unexpected protection lowered Rachel's carefully constructed defenses. "Where did you learn to do that?" she asked, moving closer to him at the bar. Logan shrugged, his expression revealing nothing. "Here and there you pick things up." The night became a blur of confessions and connection, culminating in an impulsive invitation back to her penthouse. Morning brought clarity and shock. Logan was part of the maintenance staff at Atlas, the quiet janitor she'd passed 100 times without noticing. Rather than the embarrassment most CEOs might feel, Rachel saw opportunity in this compromising situation. A man with no connections, no ambitions. Someone she assumed was a compliant failure who could be easily controlled and compensated. She watched him from the doorway of her bedroom as he stood by the floor, toseling windows silhouetted against the morning light. His military straight posture at odds with his supposed station in life. Something didn't quite add up about Logan Hayes, but Rachel was too focused on her immediate problem to dig deeper. She proposed her contract marriage over coffee one year. Generous monthly payments, separate lives, and absolute discretion. Logan considered her with those unreadable eyes before agreeing with one condition: no background checks beyond the standard employment screening he'd already passed. "Everyone has things they'd rather leave behind," he said. Rachel, assuming he had minor legal troubles or debts, agreed. The arrangement seemed perfect: a compliant husband with no interest in her company and no power to threaten her position. They married quietly 3 days later at the county courthouse, Logan in a borrowed suit, Rachel in a simple white dress that betrayed nothing of the business transaction taking place. As they signed the papers, neither noticed the man photographing them from across the street nor the encrypted message he sent. "Target has changed patterns, new variable introduced." Rachel's announcement of her marriage sent shockwaves through Atlas. Board members exchanged skeptical glances as Logan stood quietly beside her in his first and only designer suit. Marcus Blackwood, her father's oldest friend and board chairman, studied Logan with suspicious eyes. "Quite the whirlwind romance," he remarked, his handshake with Logan lingering as if assessing something. Logan met his gaze with practiced blandness, revealing nothing. "When you know, you know," Rachel replied with a practiced smile, her hand resting possessively on Logan's arm. The board members nodded, some with obvious relief. The inheritance clause satisfied their positions. Secure only Blackwood seemed troubled, his eyes narrowing as he watched Logan's careful movements around the room. To maintain appearances, Logan moved into Rachel's sterile penthouse apartment. She established clear boundaries, separate bedrooms, minimal interaction, no interference in her work. Logan complied, without complaint, continuing his janitor position. Despite her suggestion that he take a paid leave, "I prefer to earn my keep," he said simply. Rachel misinterpreted this as the pride of a simple man, unaware that Logan needed access to the building to investigate his own suspicions about Atlas. Their initial weeks together established a rhythm of careful avoidance. Rachel rose at 5 in the morning for her punishing fitness routine. Before 14-hour workdays, Logan worked night shifts, moving silently through the building while executives worked late on classified projects. In rare moments at the apartment, Rachel found herself disconcerted by Logan's efficiency. The way he observed and adapted to her habits without discussion, anticipating needs she never expressed. When Rachel struggled with insomnia, she came home to find perfect cups of chamomile tea waiting. When she skipped meals during intensive work periods, nutritious food appeared in her office refrigerator. Logan required nothing, explained nothing. His quiet confidence, both comforting and irritating to a woman who prided herself on needing no one. One night, returning earlier than usual, Rachel found Logan doing precise military push-ups in the living room. His movements so fluid and controlled they appeared effortless. He stopped immediately upon seeing her rising to his feet with a grace that seemed incongruous with his supposed background. When questioned, he mentioned only that staying fit helps me work better. Rachel let it go but filed away this inconsistency with others. She'd begun to notice their first real clash came when Rachel hosted a dinner for potential military clients. Logan, whom she intended to keep away, stepped smoothly into the role of host when her social anxiety threatened to derail the evening. His unexpected knowledge of military protocols and defense systems, which he attributed to reading a lot, charmed the generals. Rachel was simultaneously grateful and furious at being upstaged, confronting him afterward about overstepping boundaries. "You were drowning," Logan said simply. "I just kept you afloat. I don't need rescuing," she snapped. "Everyone does sometimes," he responded, something like old pain flicking in his eyes before his expression returned to neutral. Before she could demand further explanation, he'd retreated to his room, leaving Rachel with the unsettling feeling that she'd glimpsed something genuine beneath his carefully maintained facade. Meanwhile, Logan conducted his own investigation. During his maintenance rounds, he discovered unusual security gaps in Atlas's systems, encrypted communications that bypassed official channels, and mysterious shipments of technology that matched patterns he recognized from his former life. He began to suspect that Rachel's father's death was neither accident nor coincidence, and that Rachel herself might be in danger from forces within her own company. During late-night shifts, Logan slipped into secure areas using the access his janitor's position provided. Downloading server logs and photographing shipping manifests in the basement archives, he found discrepancies in financial records dating back months before Joseph Donovan's death, evidence of resources being diverted, prototype tests manipulated, classified information leaking through carefully concealed digital backdoors. As Logan became increasingly protective without explanation, Rachel's frustration grew. She'd built her career on control and self-reliance, yet found herself responding to this quiet man's subtle guidance. When she confronted him about his mysterious phone calls and unexplained absences, Logan offered only vague reassurances. The tension between them built professional and personal boundaries, blurring despite their efforts to maintain distance. 3 months into their arrangement, Rachel secured a lucrative Department of Defense contract for a revolutionary drone targeting system, cementing her position as CEO. The celebration at Atlas headquarters became a hype. The event, with military officials, board members, and technology partners in attendance, Logan, still maintaining his janitor cover, watched from the periphery as Rachel commanded the room in a striking blue gown, finally accepted in her father's world. From his position near the service entrance, Logan's trained eye catalogued potential threats. The catering staff with unexpected access to secure areas, security personnel whose positioning left blind spots in coverage, a particular guard whose communication patterns and movements seemed off protocol. Something felt wrong, triggering the hypervigilance that had kept him alive through countless operations. During her keynote speech, Logan noticed a security guard whose movement patterns didn't match standard protocols. As the guard positioned himself near Rachel with one hand inside his jacket, Logan abandoned his cover identity without hesitation. He moved with controlled precision through the crowd, reached Rachel just as the guard drew a concealed weapon, and smoothly redirected the attack. The bullet grazed Logan's arm instead of finding Rachel's heart in the ensuing chaos. Logan neutralized the assassin with military efficiency, his movements betraying years of combat training. Rachel watched in shock as her unassuming husband transformed into someone unrecognizable, commanding, lethal, and absolutely controlled in crisis. When additional security arrived, Logan had already disappeared from the scene, leaving Rachel to deal with police and questions she couldn't answer hours later. She found him in their penthouse efficiently stitching his own wound. Blood stained the white tiles of their bathroom floor, but Logan's hands remained steady as he worked, his breathing controlled and even. "Who are you?" she demanded, adrenaline and confusion making her voice shake. Logan offered only that he had some experience with security and suggested the attempt on her life connected to discrepancies he'd noticed in Atlas's classified projects. Rachel's world tilted as she realized Logan had been investigating her company all along. "You've been lying to me since the day we met," she accused, anger masking her fear. Logan finished tying off the suture before answering. "Not lying, just not sharing everything. There's a difference." "Not to me," Rachel countered, but the heat in her voice was fading, replaced by grudging acknowledgement that without his intervention she'd be dead. Their confrontation was interrupted by an urgent call. Atlas's servers were being breached, sensitive weapon designs targeted. Despite her mistrust, Rachel had no choice but to bring Logan with her to the emergency response at headquarters. There he demonstrated expertise in cybersecurity that no janitor should possess, working alongside their security team to trace the attack to a source inside Atlas itself. As Logan's fingers flew across the keyboard, Rachel watched with growing certainty that nothing about this man was what it seemed. He navigated through encrypted systems with the confidence of someone who'd done this hundreds of times, identifying attack patterns and predicting the hacker's next moves with uncanny accuracy. Evidence pointed to Marcus Blackwood, her father's closest friend and her most trusted advisor. Logan urged caution, explaining that Blackwood was likely just a piece in a larger conspiracy. When Rachel demanded to confront Blackwood directly, Logan revealed enough of his background to establish credibility. "People like Blackwood don't work alone. If he's compromised, others are too. I've seen these patterns before." "Where exactly have you seen these patterns?" Rachel pressed, crossing her arms. "What aren't you telling me?" Logan's eyes met hers, measuring how much to reveal. "I worked in intelligence assessment for a while, military. That's all I can say right now." Rachel reluctantly agreed to investigate, quietly accessing her father's private servers. With Logan's surprisingly adept assistance, they discovered encrypted communications, suggesting a systematic sale of classified weapons technology to international buyers, a treason plot that began months before her father's death. The yacht accident took on new significance as Rachel realized her father may have discovered the conspiracy. As they worked together through the night, professional barriers crumbled. Rachel saw beyond Logan's calculated simplicity to the strategic mind beneath. Logan glimpsed vulnerability behind Rachel's armor of ambition. When morning came, they'd established an uneasy alliance based on mutual need. She required his skills to uncover the conspiracy, while he needed her access to find the truth he'd been seeking since leaving military service. Neither acknowledged the other current developing between them, stronger than convenience or necessity. The investigation forced Rachel and Logan into closer proximity as they established a secure operations center in a neglected corner of the Atlas campus. For the first time, Rachel saw Logan's methodical mind, fully engaged, constructing timeline maps, analyzing communication patterns, and predicting enemy movements with unsettling accuracy. When she questioned his methods, Logan revealed he was once involved in intelligence analysis, a half-truth that explained his skills without exposing his true background. Working late into the night, they pieced together fragments of the conspiracy: shell companies receiving Atlas technology through intermediaries, weapons tests deliberately sabotaged after delivery to U.S. forces, classified designs appearing in modified form in foreign arsenals. The pattern revealed not just corruption but a coordinated effort to undermine American defense capabilities while profiting from the sale of working systems to private buyers. Their breakthrough came when they decrypted files showing Blackwood's offshore accounts, receiving payments coinciding with testing failures of Atlas technology, weapons deliberately sabotaged after delivery to military clients. The pattern suggested a calculated effort to undermine American defense capabilities while selling functioning systems to private buyers. More disturbing were references to Phoenix containment, which caused visible tension in Logan's usually impassive expression. The phrase appeared in multiple encrypted communications, ensure Phoenix containment remains priority. Phoenix assets must be neutralized. Phoenix commander location unknown. Each mention sent a visible current of tension through Logan, though he tried to hide his reaction. When Rachel pressed him about his reaction, they were interrupted by a security breach in their makeshift command center. 3 professional operators with military precision infiltrated the building, clearly targeting their location. Logan instantly shifted into combat mode, instructing Rachel through evasive maneuvers with the fluid command of someone accustomed to being obeyed in life or death situations. Stay 3 steps behind me, move when I move, freeze when I signal. He ordered, all pretense of the differential janitor gone. In its place was someone Rachel had never met. A commander accustomed to high-stakes operations, someone whose natural authority was so ingrained he no longer noticed it. During their escape through maintenance corridors, Rachel witnessed Logan engaged the pursuers with devastating efficiency, neutralizing trained killers with precision that could only come from elite special forces training. His controlled violence both terrified and mesmerized her as she recognized this was his true element, not the quiet submission he'd performed for months. One attacker came at Logan with a combat knife. He redirected the momentum, disarmed the man, and incapacitated him with a precisely applied chokehold, all in under 5 seconds. Another fired at them from the end of a corridor. Logan pushed Rachel to safety, calculated the trajectory based on the echo pattern, and returned fire without exposing himself. The tactical thinking happened so fast it appeared instinctive. They reached a secure location, a pre-prepared safe house Logan established without her knowledge as Rachel processed the revelation that her simple husband had been preparing for this scenario all along. Logan finally shared a version of the truth. He admitted to being former military special operations recruited to investigate Atlas. After intelligence suggested classified technology was being compromised, what he didn't reveal was his personal connection to the case, nor his suspicions about her father's role. The safe house was Spartan but comprehensive. Secure communications, weapons, cash, medical supplies, multiple escape routes. Everything spoke of meticulous planning by someone who'd done this many times before. Rachel took in the environment, connecting these new pieces to the puzzle. That was Logan Hayes. Your father contacted someone in my former chain of command weeks before his death, Logan explained as he secured the perimeter. He suspected internal sabotage but didn't know who to trust. I was sent to establish a position within Atlas to investigate quietly. Marrying me, was that part of your mission parameters? Rachel asked, anger masking the deeper hurt of betrayal. No, Logan answered with rare emotional honesty. That was unexpected. An opportunity for closer access, yes, but not planned. As Rachel grappled with these